Okay, ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand. Join Councilman Williams in the salute to our flag and country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for the prayer, please.
Creator God, thank you for all you have made. We rejoice in your beautiful creation. Thank you for the ability to appreciate it and enjoy it. In the Bible, you say a leader of good judgment gives stability, but one who is greedy for bribes tears it down. You also say, let him who boasts boast about this, that he understands and knows me, that I am the Lord who exercises kindness, justice, and righteousness on earth, for in these I delight. Help us to delight at justice, since you delight in justice. Guide us to live seeking fairness for businesses to prosper and families to flourish, and justice in the courts of law that will lead to stability and a thriving community. Lord, thank you for our mayor and the city council and leaders at every level of our city. Give them grace to bring truth, justice, and stability to our city. Give them power to do what is right and to rule in fairness. And may our community always prosper from the influence of good men and women. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Call to order our Guthrie Public Works Authority meeting of February 21st. Second item on the agenda is public comments, community announcements, and recognitions. I have one. Is there any others that didn't? Okay, we have one. There is an editorial comment by myself on the agenda, and I'm going to take this opportunity to say a few words. I'd like to apologize to the citizens, to the council, and the apology is, as the chair of this council meeting, it's my responsibility to conduct the meeting in a orderly manner, if you will, and I've been doing that for about 8 years. During that time, I have become a little lax on some of the things, and one of the things is the public comment. I've allowed people to make comments that aren't in alignment with the sheet of paper that they sign, number one. Also, our guidelines that we have under citizen recognitions and announcements that's in our guidelines there also. And so I failed a little bit on that regard, and I apologize to, again, the citizens, the council, my colleague, the vice mayor, and my editorial comment that was written in here is the guidelines that I was proposing to use today. The one person that has signed up meets that guideline, so we will move on with that. But I hope you will accept my apology, and hope we all do better in the future. Item number 3, consent agenda. Consent agenda number is A. Approval of the minutes of the February 7th Public Works Authority meeting. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
And a second. Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Questions? Submit your votes, please.
All votes ran.
Let's see the votes. Unanimous approval from those present then to approve the consent agenda item number A. Item number 4, a discussion, possible action to grant an electrical easement to OG&E to serve the new wastewater treatment plant. Leroy, you
This
taking
is
that?
the easement to allow them to put in the poles in the line to bring electricity to our new wastewater treatment plant.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions? Submit your votes.
All votes ran.
See the votes. Unanimous approval from those present. Then to approve the easement for OG&E for the to the new wastewater treatment plant. Number 5, discussion and possible action to approve change order number 5 with Young Contracting on the wastewater treatment plant, Section A, lift station, increasing the original contract by $14,736.96.
I will make the initial presentation, and Tenny can address questions. In Tenny's agenda item cover letter, he states change order number 5 will increase the original contract amount by $14,736.96. And this is on Project B of the 3 pieces of the wastewater treatment plant, the lift station. DQ did not require an emergency pump connection since a standby generator is provided on site, but staff felt that an emergency pump connection should be added to this project, allowing the staff the opportunity to use a submergible pump and hook directly into this connection to continue to push sewage to the treatment plant in need of pump failure. We started out with almost $1 million of contingency funds in this project, and with this $14,000, we'll still have well over $900,000 of contingency funds left that we've not used to fund this project in the budget.
Okay.
Will this be gas-fired, like if we have a power outage or something that will have natural gas to it, or?
Tenny will.
It'll actually, the pump, the submergible pump will run off of the generator that will be in place. What this will serve, the purpose this will serve more than anything will, when we drop a submergible pump in, we'll be able to take a discharge hose, hook directly into this, shut a valve where our pumps, the standard pumps go down. We'll be able to hook this in, use the portable submergible pump, and continue to pump. We felt like the urgency of having this is important due to this lift station pumping every bit of the city's sewage up to the plant. If we have pump failure, we'll be able to drop a portable in and hook, continue.
Well, and because of the setup you've got now, you've been able to do that, right? The old setup, didn't you have a valve on it where you could get in, where you could?
We have this same setup on a few of our lift stations, the one on Division out by Mission Hills. We have it out there. When we had the pump failure out there, that's what made us think, you know what, we probably need this out here on the one that's going to the lift station, or going to the new plant.
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes, please.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to approve change order number 5 for a total of $14,736.96. Item number 6, discussion possible action to approve resolution number 2023-07, waiving the bidding and advertising procedure for unusual contracts purchases to acquire used vehicles and equipment for the City of Guthrie and Guthrie Public Works Authority throughout fiscal year 2023.
Why?
Any questions on that?
Yeah, why? I guess, I mean, this is an open-ended opportunity. There's no set, there's nothing says what this pertains to in equipment or pickups or how many. Seems like it's just open-ended for the end of the year.
Can I explain?
Yes.
Please.
We're trying to come up with a practical solution to an impractical environment that we're in with the supply chain situation. Under the city charter, it provides the city council may by a simple majority waive the bidding and advertising procedure herein set forth for unusual contracts can be let immediately upon approval of the city council. Unusual purchases as used in this section shall be limited to purchases for which the taking of bids is not feasible because of practical limitations upon bidding procedures which are beyond the control of the city of Guthrie. When we adopted the purchasing policy, the 2022 edition, unusual contracts were excluded from that policy because it was covered by the provisions in the charter. Some examples, the Ford Company limited the city of Guthrie and the Public Works Authority that we could only buy one new Ford vehicle this year. Other companies that we've dealt with to purchase new vehicles that we budgeted, we're finding that it's up to 2 years before we can get a new vehicle. I saw in the news recently where Oklahoma City had 200 vehicles they were trying to buy on the used market because they could not buy new vehicles. And so what we're looking at doing is, in lieu of waiting 2 years to get new vehicles, because we need to replace these, is look at the opportunity to buy used vehicles. It's difficult to bid used vehicles. The mileage is different. The specs or the features on used vehicles are all different, so you can't compare apples to apples. They're all different. In today's market, with everybody trying to buy used trucks, they don't want to wait 2 weeks while you look for other bids and then go to city council for approval. So timing doesn't work to bid these out. We have a line maintenance 3/4 ton crew cab that's been budgeted, a 1-ton dump truck for parks department, a pickup for the airport that was funded from some of the COVID money that we received. We're looking at replacing a pickup in animal control and water plant forklift. And so those are the ones that we have specifically identified. There may be others. We have limited this to the balance of this year, this budget year, so it would not go past October 1, and then it would have to be renewed if we find ourselves in the same situation. But this will allow us to go find these pieces of equipment in the used market. If we find something that will serve our needs, that we can go ahead and purchase it. We set the limit at $100,000 because we didn't want to have to come back and amend it. The 1-ton dump truck, we're estimating somewhere around $60,000 is the most one, but we set the amount higher just in case. This situation is being driven by the supply chain crisis that's been created by COVID, geopolitical environment, rising fuel costs and inflation, and this will allow us the opportunity to go out and get those used vehicles.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions of Leroy? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approved from those present then to approve resolution 2023-07, which waives the bidding and advertising procedure for unusual contracts to acquire used vehicles and equipment, and establishing a $500 cap through the end of this fiscal year. What?
No,
What? No, not a $500
$100,000.
cap.
What?
$100,000 cap
I'm sorry.
no, that's per vehicle.
per vehicle.
I mean, that's per purchase. What we've done is we've taken the $25,000 cap that council would approve over that
And moved it up to 100,000.
100,000.
For
For
just
5
this one.
pieces of
That's
equipment.
That's not what she said, but
Oh,
I think Kim can probably get it
I got
correct.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, what is the correction so that the public knows what we're approving here?
Well, I'm gonna actually pull up the council memo. So I thought you said 500,000.
He said,
$500.
$500. Oh, gosh, okay.
Okay, so what the motion and the second is to temporarily increase the purchasing authority of the city manager set forth by purchasing policy 2022 edition adopted by resolution 2022-06 to $100,000 to purchase used equipment and used vehicles for the fiscal year 2023 without prior approval of the city council.
From 25,000.
It was, I think, 50.
It was 25, I
Was it
thought.
25?
Yeah,
Okay.
25, I'm pretty
All
sure.
right.
What's right
But
there?
that's what I intended my motion to be.
That was the
So
motion, that was the motion and the second. Any other? We've already voted on it.
Right. Yes, it's done.
We
can move on now. Yeah.
For that. All right, I hope that that's clear. You certainly have it clear in
It's
your
right there.
minutes.
It's in there. Resolution.
It's in the
All right,
resolution.
next.
Sorry,
It's exactly in the Item resolution. 7.
I am. Okay.
Warm out.
Okay, that's the,
That's it.
item number 7 is the adjournment for our Public Works Authority meeting. And I call to order our city council meeting of February 7th, 2023. Second item on the agenda is consent agenda item A and B. A is the approval of the minutes of February 7th, the special city council meeting. And B is the approval of the minutes of February 7th, regular city council meeting. I entertain a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval from those present then to approve consent agenda items A and B. Item number 3, recognition of the resignation of Don Channel, Ward 3 City Council member, and discussion possible action in the process to fill the vacant position for both the balance of his current term and his next 4-year term that would have started on May 1st, 2023.
So,
We have a letter of resignation that we have to officially accept, and this is part of the acceptance process.
well, motion to accept.
And then we have,
Second.
okay, and then we're also talking about the process, discussion of possible action on the process to fill the position.
So in the past, we've put out a advertisement, so to speak, through City Hall.
And what we would like for you all is to authorize staff to distribute the news release that we put in your agenda packet that will announce the vacancy. And the vacancy would remain open till filled, but our first review would be on Monday, March 13th. And that's when we would review the applications, and then you all can decide whether you want to do them as a whole body. Last time you used a committee of 3. But first step would be for you all to approve us to release that news release announcing the vacancy. And the draft was in your packet.
Make that your
So I make that into the motion as well as accepting Don's resignation.
motion. Second.
Okay? Any other discussion on that? All right, submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to accept the resignation of Don Channel and to authorize staff to move forward with the advertising of how the vacancy would be filled with the dates as identified by the city manager.
And then either tonight or a future meeting, you all can decide whether you want to have a panel like you did last time of 3 members to review those and make a recommendation, or whether you want to review them as a body as a whole.
Well, our past 2 that we have filled, I believe how we did it was that there was a representative from each of the wards and myself as the preliminary interview of potential candidates. And
It's
then
a
we-
public meeting if there's 4 of you. I believe there was only
you're
3.
There was only 3.
3.
It was you.
But it would make sense for one of each of the wards members to be the committee.
I like that.
And then have a public meeting after that.
You can still represent Ward 1.
Yeah, I can represent Ward 1.
Yeah.
You're at large, you could.
And
Because you need to be
then-
on that committee.
And then that group makes the recommendation to the entire council,
Right.
is what we've done in the past. Any thoughts on
I
how
like
you'd
that
like to do it?
I think that's a real equitable way to do that. So I like the whole idea.
Need some applicants first. Tell them
Let's-
if they're against it.
We approved the release of it
We may only have one.
publicly, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So what I'm hearing is a representative from each of the wards, and myself is on the preliminary review panel, or, no?
It'd be a representative from each ward and you, because that would be 4.
That's a quorum.
He could be the Ward 1 representative,
Yes,
though.
he could be one of the 3, but it can't
Right.
be 3 plus 1.
Right.
Well, then I guess I think I think there should be a representative from each ward.
Well, then you want to have it an open meeting?
No,
And
Okay.
bow out, let the.
That's what I'm
council
saying.
do it, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Then you can come back in and do an assessment.
I agree. We can figure that out. Let's get some applicants and we'll have another meeting by then. And we
Okay.
can put it on that agenda to finalize how we're gonna handle it.
okay.
Well done, Brian, well done.
All right, is that good?
That's good.
Because we might want to change it. Might get a little thought, we might want to do something different.
Okay, all right.
Can we have an executive session with the candidates? No, we can't.
No.
Okay, no.
No,
All right,
so it would have to be that, it'd have to be where we don't have a quorum, and I
Okay.
think that's where Leroy
Right.
expressed the concern appropriately. And I guess I would just say, representative from each of the wards, and they bring their recommendation to the whole council.
okay.
Good enough.
Did we have a motion on that?
Yeah, you have a motion and a second.
We have one to fill the vacancy.
We have a motion to fill the vacancy and tell staff to go ahead with the.
Yeah, we already did that one.
Process.
I think we actually already said yes on the whole damn thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're
it's
done.
good.
Yeah.
So just clear
We're-
it.
we're-
Clear that.
Just clear that, yeah.
We just keep talking too much.
Okay. Good. So we've got the announcement for the staff to go ahead with the recruitment and the process by the council. Okay? All right.
Item 4.
Discussion, possible action to award 7 individual HVAC contracts for the buildings listed in our packet here. Fire Department, Guthrie Library, Public Works Building, Island Hall, Water Treatment Plant, Cemetery Office, and what is identified as the Girl Scout Building, the Community Center Building that's over close to Highland. That is a total of $272,062.75.
Mike,
And bear in mind, these are individual contracts. That total is just a total of all the individuals.
Right.
It's not, we have to identify them as individual contracts. And just to give some background, this grant that we received is a 100% grant. And our expenses were for grant administration and architect services to do our specs. And that was $54,000. And even if we don't consider the windows and apply all that expense against the HVAC, that means that for the $272,000, it cost us 20% of that to replace HVAC units in 7 buildings that we need to replace. So I think that's a pretty good deal.
Well, you're talking about 14 units, too.
I just make a motion to approve.
Second.
But each of those is just the
Separate.
HVAC?
Correct. We are going to look at do it because when we bid the windows out, our bid was substantially more than what we had estimated. So we're going to look at doing the windows through our own labor at a later date, and we may hire some temporary employees to help us with that, rather than go through the bid process on the windows.
But these are big HVACs. This isn't your little home unit.
Well, shit, how big is the damn cemetery office? $16,000 for heat and air in a cemetery office? How big is that place?
Good question.
Well, there's more to it.
18,000. Probably got to update all this stuff.
Huh?
Let me get to it.
That's a lot of damn money.
Aren't they putting in, ductwork?
It don't have anything, right now, all that facility has is just a window unit.
Yeah, this is gonna be everything.
So they got one window unit, and we're gonna spend $18,000 to put HVAC in that thing? How many bids did we get?
One,
Just
wasn't
one.
it?
That's robbery.
Nobody else
But
wanted to bid
they'll
on it.
have to put in all ductwork.
I don't care. $18,000. That damn thing's not gonna cost that much to put in HVAC.
One way to look at it, whether you agree with the amount or not, it's not costing us anything, it's 100% grant. But if you want to, you can vote these individually and vote for the ones you want and vote against the ones you don't want.
I think I'm probably the only one no, so I'll vote no or whatever, and everybody else can do what they want. But that's, I don't care whose money it is. That's theft.
Is this the same contractor for all these jobs?
Correct.
Yeah, and I don't know, Leroy got to finish explaining how it all happened. I mean, the first time we bid it, we got no bids. And so we changed the purchasing policy in order to help our local contractors to be able to bid on this type of project, especially since it's CDBG related. And so we had 2 contractors meet with us, and one of them was able to bid.
Because he met the criteria.
Yeah.
Well, I've already got a motion to approve the whole
We've got-
project.
I've already
We've
seconded.
got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. By a vote of 5 to 1, that is approved for those, all 7 heating and air conditioning units to be installed, some individual
And they will
contracts.
be individual contracts.
Individual contracts. Okay, number 5, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2023-05, authorizing the submission of a Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Stability and Equity RAISE grant for application for a multimodal redesign and reconstruction project for Sooner Road. Leroy?
We pursued grants for this project previously. This is the second round of the RAISE grants that are open to us. It's a federal grant. The federal grant will pay 80% of the project, and our match would be 20%. And it's a $9,670,714 total cost. In your packet, I put some drawings showing the project area, and of course, it would go from Seward to Division on Sooner Road.
So you just need a motion to approve to go after the
To approve
grant.
the resolution to apply for the grant.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
One real quick deal. Are we gonna put the roundabouts in?
That's in the.
Yeah, I don't know that I
That's what I'm
like
saying, are we
What's in the
gonna?
That's
proposal?
in the
We have
grant
to.
application, yeah.
We have, that's what I'm trying to say, do we have to do that?
That's part of the application.
If you want to get funded more than.
Just asking.
If you want somebody to do it with.
All of those improvements it just enhances our grant.
Okay, that's all, that's the reason why I'm asking it that way.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, submit your vote.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval to approve resolution number 2023-05, authorizing the submission of a RAISE grant for the redesign and reconstruction of Sooner Road. Item number 6, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 2023-6, authorizing the submission of a RAISE grant for the reconstruction or redesign and reconstruction project on Southwest 19th. Leroy?
Again, this is, we have applied for this project under the first round of the RAISE grant. We went through a review process, and they suggested some modifications we make to be more competitive. This is the second round. This project is a little over $3.7 million. 80% of it would be paid by federal money, and our 20% match would be just under $750,000. And this resolution would authorize us to submit that grant application.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes, Tran?
Unanimous approval then to move forward with resolution number 2023-06, submission of a raised grant for the redesign and reconstruction of 19th Street Southwest. Item number 7, discussion of possible action to award library roof replacement project for the sum of $66,449.
We got 2 bids on this project. The low bid did not include removing the existing roof. It was just go patch over the existing roof and limit it to a 2-year warranty. The claims adjuster from OMAG recommended that we remove the existing roof and replace it with a new roof. And the bid from Ozone does that, plus provides a 20-year warranty. It's a cost of $66,449.81. Insurance funds we have is $50,672. So we will supplement that with other local city funds, $15,777 to complete the project.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? Submit your votes.
All votes, Tran?
See the votes. Unanimous approval. Then to award the library roof replacement project to the sum of $66,449.81. Item number 8, discussion and possible action for request for approval of final subdivision plat for 74 residential lots within the PUD unit development of Mission Hills, Section 2. Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As indicated, this is the project that is west of the existing Mission Hills subdivision. The original planned unit development was approved by the council back in February of '21. The preliminary plat was then approved by the Planning Commission in March of '21. This is phase 1 of what they're looking to do. As you indicated, it's 74 lots. It's essentially going to be kind of the midsection of the entire development they're doing there. They'll have a portion that comes off of James Way, and then the other portion will be off of Davis Road. Davis Road, as you may remember, is a county road. Talking with the developer, the county is going to be putting out the bids tomorrow for that. So they're going to be basically the project manager for getting that road paved in that. But I just wanted to give an update that it's going to go out for bid tomorrow. This did go to the Planning Commission where they approved 3-0. Some of the conditions changed a little bit because of the developer took a little different path, but they're all in your agenda, but I'll just briefly go over them. The one is for $2,090,000 and change for the improvements. That's the surety bond they'll have to put up. We are going to require that they provide us sufficient documentation to make sure that Davis Road is going to be paved, so we don't end up with a subdivision that doesn't have paved roads. Then they'll have to put up a 2-year maintenance bond, or the contractors were, for all the roads and improvements, which is typical. And then we won't issue any certificates of occupancy for any of the homes until all the improvements have been accepted by the city council. Also, I was going to add that one of the other elements that came about with this subdivision is we're realigning Prairie Grove Road. Down at Davis and Prairie Grove, that intersection, it's in the floodplain. And so it was a better option to realign it outside of that rather than put substantial infrastructure of bridges in that area. The actual acceptance of that right-of-way will come when it comes back to the council for the acceptance of the improvements. So with that, I'll leave it back to the council.
So they're gonna move that to the north, is what they're?
Yeah, it'll be slightly northwest.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, it'll be just about, I forget from the intersection, but yeah, it'll go basically northwesterly and tie into Davis Road over there.
And Davis Road gets paved all the way to industrial?
They're gonna just pave the portion that's along the subdivision, so from Prairie Grove
Yeah, it'd be north on their,
So it doesn't go all the way to.
Yeah, I don't think-
Because
they're not
there's
planning on doing
there's
the whole
another
thing.
road in there someplace.
Well, so initially, I was in the meetings with your vice president and Marv Goodman, and the agreement was at that point, now Monty took over Marv's territory. I didn't, he needs to be updated on this, or that agreement. I assume that Marvin did, but I don't know. But the initial agreement was, the county was gonna use their equipment and manpower, and Ideal was gonna buy materials and pave it to industrial.
and I'm not really sure, because even if it were in the city, all we would require is the portion that's along their property.
I understand, but I'm
Yeah.
just letting you know that's
Yeah,
what the
okay.
agreement was.
Yeah,
That's really county action.
yeah.
That was county and Ideal Homes action.
Correct. Okay.
But as a city, I think we do have a responsibility that if we're gonna allow a subdivision there, and people go buy homes, they will have an expectation to have a paved road.
Exactly.
And
I don't know, you ever been to Timberland Hills? That place filled up fast and it's got all kinds of.
Well, the concern in this was Prairie Grove to Division, and that's why they agreed to pave to industrial. It gave another whole access route to it.
That's what I wanted to see. 'Cause it-
I mean, I think paved roads are great, but, so we're saying that we won't give certificate of occupancies to Ideal Homes if the county doesn't pave the road?
No. What we're saying is if they don't do the required improvements, we're going to not record the plat until that documentation is giving to us that they're going to pave it, but all we would require is the portion that's along the subdivision. We're not gonna hold up their project or their C of Os for a county road that has no impact on the
we're
subdivision
saying a lot of
whatsoever.
different things.
Really?
I feel that if we're going to have a subdivision inside the city limits, that people buy housing lots, and we're telling them that Davis Road is going to be paved, then we should not sign off on the recording of the plat until at least that project has been, the contract's been awarded for that
I
project.
mean, if you guys wanna make the condition that it goes all the way to industrial, that's fine.
Move to approve.
Well, hold on, let me,
What are you approving?
right.
What was the approval, Jim?
Excuse me. On his discussion of possible action on a request to approve the final subdivision plat, he's trying to get it approved, according to this.
Right, but as far as paving the portion.
I make a motion that it goes to industrial.
Okay.
All right,
That's my motion. All of this, but it goes to industrial as a contingency. You don't like that idea?
No, because I think we're requiring more than a minimum. I mean,
We
as
are.
long as it's paved where they have a paved access to the subdivision, I think that's the minimum requirements, and that's what we
Okay.
require. If they pave it further, great, but I think our job is just to make sure there's a paved access. There is the road goes through, so if they need an emergency out a different way, they have that. But I think what the county's putting out for bids should satisfy our requirements that there will be paved access to that subdivision.
okay.
And wherever their boundary is on the north,
Yeah.
it'll be back to Prairie Grove and then
Yes.
north. I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
east.
yeah, because Prairie Grove's in the city, so that's
Right.
getting paved because
Right.
that's ours,
So, okay.
yeah.
I got
So-
no problem with that either.
Councilman Boatright, are you withdrawing your?
Yeah, I'll withdraw. Go
So
ahead.
we're back to the original, that Councilman,
So,
Okay.
And I-
Chris,
I second
you got a text, and they are gonna pave it to industrial, but our requirement should be
Don't change.
the
Right.
minimum,
Right.
not
Right.
max.
Right.
okay.
I knew there was an agreement to go to industrial.
I'm glad you brought that
I'll
up.
second that, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the final subdivision plat as identified, with the provisos as identified in the agenda that we all have. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes ran.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to approve that final subdivision plat for 74 residential lots with the provisions as stated in the agenda as presented to the council. Item number 9, Discussion, possible action to approve the agreement with Myers Engineering to provide professional services for a grant on the ACOG, for a grant from ACOG for a street overlay project. Leroy?
We received a grant in the amount of $625,940. There is no matching requirement, and it will pave a little over 2,600 linear feet of Pine Street and 2 sections of Oklahoma, one 2,300 feet east of Oklahoma from Broad Street to Capitol, and another 3,120 linear feet from East Oklahoma from Pine east to State Highway 33. And this, in our application, the cost estimate provided for $25,000 for engineering, and this is the task force order to have the engineering done, so we put the project out to bids.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval then to approve the agreement with Myers Engineering, provide professional services for the grant from ACOG for street overlay projects impacting portions of Pine and Oklahoma Avenue. Item number 10, discussion possible action to approve resolution number 2023-07, waiving the bidding and advertising procedures of usual contracts to acquire used vehicles and equipment as we've previously discussed, and for the remainder of this fiscal year.
Same as GPWA.
Same thing.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes are in.
See the votes. Unanimous approval to approve resolution number 2023-07, waiving the bidding and advertising procedure for unusual purchases for used vehicles and equipment for the remainder of this fiscal year. Item number 11, discussion potential action on future rules and guidelines for public comments at City Council and Public Works meetings. I had listed what I thought were some changes to our existing procedure, which included the allowance for business owners who had businesses within the city of Guthrie to also have access to this public information or public response to the city council. That wasn't included in our original policy. And I also included what Mr. Downs had talked about or suggested at our last city council meeting, which was not identifying the address of the individual speaking, and proposing that instead of the address, that just be a question from the chair, are you a resident of the city of Guthrie? He or she would have already identified their address on their application to speak, but that wouldn't be identified for public consumption, if you will. Those are two changes that I'm suggesting that we formalize. And Adam Ropp has asked to speak on this one.
Is that all the discussion is going to be, is just on this?
You can discuss first.
Okay. Okay. I will go first.
Okay. Adam Ropp, I don't
And
care.
are you a citizen of Guthrie?
Oh, you bet. And you can know my address, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's out there.
That's all right.
But, I appreciate you guys hearing me out today, and I do acknowledge that there are 6 individuals up here, okay? That each one of you guys have your own thoughts and opinions, so I'm not saying anything to be accusatory, okay? But the idea that we're gonna go back and kind of reinforce the way that it was, that people can only talk unless they're on the agenda. I'm not accusing, like I said, any individual or group up here of doing this, but there are many in the community, not just the 2 individuals who were here last time, that have reached out to me and expressed they do feel that this is a way to stifle their free speech. If we have a process where either the city manager or one of you has to put this on the agenda in order for them to talk. I've had multiple people say they've reached out to certain individuals, and not only was it a no, but they wouldn't even get a return phone call. So they see this as kind of a loophole and in a manner of a way for them to be shut down because somebody does not like what they're going to say. Kind of saw this a couple weeks ago. Again, I'm not looking at any individual saying any of you have done that. There's always two sides to every story. I have not called any of the counselors up here and asked them, hey, did you get this call and not do it? So I understand that as well. I'm just telling you that there are people that feel as though that this is a way to hamper down on them being able to address the city council. And in my opinion, I believe we should always err on the side of freedom of speech and transparency. Okay, thank you.
Well, I got a comment on that as well. Yeah, I think I voiced it last time. I don't, I've been on this going on 8 years now, followed it for 4 religiously before that. And I've never seen any of this process be done, ever. It's always been the mayor, everybody's always been able to get up there and speak, and you should be able to. We're a small town. Now, I see maybe if you're not in city limits, but I think even then, if you've got a business in town, you ought to be able to speak. I don't know that you want people from Norman coming up to speak, but again, that's up to the mayor at that position, at that point. But I think they ought to be able to talk about whatever they want to talk about. They got their 5 minutes. If it goes off topic, you shut them down. That's what that role is, and that's what that hammer's for. But to try to stifle people from talking is ridiculous, in my opinion. And that's my opinion, and it's not going to change.
The intent is not to stifle people from talking, it's to have them talk.
But we've never followed this
Just a minute,
guideline.
Brian.
Okay.
Just a minute. Okay?
Okay.
It's to have them talk on topic. And the topic is the agenda item. And it's, the Supreme Court, as everybody here has got a copy of the Supreme Court, identified that in fact it isn't a violation of free speech.
I understand.
What we're proposing to do. I just think that we open ourselves up. In my preliminary comments, I said I think I may have put us on a slippery slope. Because potentially somebody could get up here, let me just give you an example that's way out there, but somebody could get up there and talk about a spouse that is having an affair with somebody and just blurt that out there. And there's no control of that. I mean, you can gavel that all you want, but it's already been done. That's way out there, I understand.
There's no control of that if someone was talking on an agenda item and said that.
Well,
there's zero control.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen.
And it's not your fault, because again, I followed this council 4 years when Jeff first got put on it, and it wasn't your doing. Okay, this is the way it's always been on this council that I've seen.
Well, I'll take responsibility as
you don't have
this
to.
way. But I do think that, again, what Mr. Rock was saying was not necessarily a hit on talking about the agenda. It was a hit on us not putting it on the agenda, putting an issue on the agenda.
Correct, yes.
And I guess that's our responsibility. And if somebody comes to us, a member of the council or the city manager, with a request that has nothing to do with city administration, city operation, city involvement, well then the answer is no, it shouldn't be on our agenda. But if it does fall into that big umbrella of city operations, we ought to put it on, and we ought to respond if we're requested. That's what I was hearing, that it was the response.
Steve, if you will, I know that in my experience anyway, whenever people have called me and asked me to present something or with a problem, I've presented it in my comments, or I've presented it to the appropriate bodies to get things done without never having to bring it to council.
Yes, some things can be solved without bringing it to council.
Exactly.
I think that's the intent, in fact, of saying, if you've got an issue, take it to the council, the councilman, appropriate councilman or the city manager, maybe it could be solved without even coming to this body. I think that's the intent. If it can't be, then it comes to the body and
Then
we
we put it
discuss.
on the agenda and we
what-
discuss it, yeah.
Put it on the agenda.
Well,
we
that's
discuss
what
it.
we do
Have a
anyway,
workshop.
but what we're talking about is when people want to come, there's something going on, whatever it is. We may not even know about it. You don't know about everything that's going on in this town, nor do I.
But why is this the place for that?
There, it may not be,
So
okay?
let's not.
But if you had, it's kind of like the, I'll use the example, and we did a lot of research on it as well, and Tracy did as well, also on the batch plan, okay? You had a whole bunch of people show up, but you let one talk about it, and you should have. They spoke their piece, and they were done,
That was an agenda item.
okay?
Yes.
It wasn't an agenda item on that council. Damn sure wasn't. It just was not. But the only time this has ever happened where it was disarray, okay, was the last council.
Okay.
It wasn't prior to that. We've never seen that in the 8 years that you and I have been on here. And it has not been an issue, period. There's been a couple of times, and I'm not gonna be done here, where you had to shut them down in their talk because they're going over 5 minutes or they're getting off topic. I get that. Okay? And that's my point. You've handled it fine. It's not your fault. So-
But maybe we can learn from it. And let's say the batch plan. And I.
Maybe it was on the agenda.
Maybe it
that
wasn't.
It wasn't.
But it had already been before planning commission, because it was already
Correct.
publicly known.
Right.
So it was something that was coming to
Right,
us. It
right.
wasn't just something out of left field.
Exactly.
And if any one of us had been contacted, I suspect that we would have said, let's put it on the agenda and talk about it. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I don't see that we are a barrier to get information and opinions from the citizens. But it needs to be within some kind of structure. And the structure is that it needs to be on the agenda. And if a person has an issue, they can call the six of us that are here, or the city manager, and then we can put it on the agenda. And yes, it would fall on us to say, yeah, this is appropriate or not.
I'll bet you if you've counted the times that you've been on here, James, how many times somebody signed up out there, okay, and actually got up here and talked, it's nowhere near what you think. And I know in the last 8 years I've been here, there hasn't been that many. Okay, and so we're looking at anytime someone does want to talk, now we're going to put it on the agenda. Makes no sense. Okay, let them have their 5 minutes, gavel it down if they're off topic, and be done.
You know, I guess, Brian, the other thing that having it on the agenda and having them be able to express their opinion is the fact that we can have a dialogue.
No, we can't,
No,
but they
wait a
still
minute,
don't
just a
get
minute.
to.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Because it's on the agenda. We don't have a dialogue with them because it's not on the agenda. That's
We
the
can't comment at all.
guidelines of public, open
I get
rules,
it,
correct?
I understand.
So now we can have a dialogue. I've always felt a concern when somebody comes and presents their opinion of it or an issue, and they don't get a response.
We just sit here
I
and
mean, it's
look
just
at
like the
it.
damn cat lady.
and-
She brings 25 people in here,
Lisa-
and we can't
Lisa-
say anything to her.
Lisa-
And she's brought all these people in here, for what? We can't say a damn thing.
Lisa knew.
Lisa
And-
New brings 25 people in here.
And-
Yeah, we probably don't want to talk about that, James, because the mayor and I asked her to come back that meeting,
Well,
okay? I got put into another meeting with Steve and her
But it was
and
being
others.
handled outside of council. There was no reason to
She was
bring
told to
that.
bring it back with a modified plan and let us know what it was, okay? Wasn't allowed to give it.
but let me continue with that thought process.
We didn't put it on the agenda.
Just
I
a
didn't
minute.
think it needed to be.
Wait.
I'm referring to James.
Okay, well, I'm talking.
Okay, go ahead.
My concern is the perception of the viewing audience, whether here or on TV, that here somebody is passionate about an issue. I mean, is passionate enough to come and speak to the council. And it looks like the council is just, I'm not saying ignoring it, but because there's no dialogue, it's almost like, okay, what happened to it? But if it's on the agenda, we can have that dialogue. And it can be more valuable, I think, to both parties as well as to the public. I think that's a critical point.
I agree with that.
That is a good point. I like the idea of dialogue, for sure. But I think if it's just something that doesn't need to be on the agenda and they just want to get it out, they should be able to.
Well, I guess my point is, they should,
I think
if
there's
if it's
a fine.
valuable enough, it should be on the agenda. And then we can have dialogue about it, and it can be more meaningful.
I think that, I'm sorry, can I say one more thing? I think.
Yes, you can.
I'll try to-
Yes, you can. You've signed up. So you gotta-
I think, again, the perception is that, okay, but what if it has to go through you guys to go on the agenda, what if you don't want it on the agenda because you are ashamed, or you don't want it on there because you don't like what they're going to say?
There's 7 of us. Take it to somebody else.
Okay.
If you're not getting what you want, you have 2 councilmen per ward. If you're not getting what you want from me, then go to Jim Case. If you're not getting what you want from me or Jim Case,
Yeah.
go to Jeff Taylor.
Okay.
I mean, I cannot believe there'd be all 7 of us to tell you no.
You guys did 2 weeks ago.
And if we do,
You did 2 weeks ago. You told 2 people no and 1 person yes right after them because you liked what he was going to say, and
That's
you
prejudging
didn't.
that.
That's not true.
Okay,
That's
then-
prejudging it.
Okay. Then why did 2 people get to talk and 2 people got denied to talk on public comments, but then a 3rd person came up and they were able to talk?
Well,
Because I didn't know what he was gonna talk about until he said it. He was only up there about 30
How did you know
seconds.
what Kath,
I had no idea what he was talking about. Hers was written down.
okay, well, fair enough, okay. But I'm saying that's the public perception.
Okay, but
Okay.
that is prejudging our ethics,
Motives.
ethics. You're
Right.
prejudging our
I
ethics.
told you guys are individuals. I'm not saying that you are doing that. I'm saying that is the public perception, guys.
Okay, so why are
So-
we creating a problem that we don't know that we have?
Okay, well, fair enough on that. I'm just saying, I'm just telling you the public perception. But if, like James said, you're right, it doesn't have to be just the one counselor in their ward. You can, if they feel like that's the way it is, they can go to all of you
And the city manager?
and a city manager. And if all of you feel like it's not worthy, then clearly it's not something that needs to be on discussion. Is that what I'm?
Yeah, that's what,
Okay, all right, fair enough.
and in fact,
I just want to get the dialogue going.
that is, Ben, what's on
Been
the
how it
sheet
is.
that you
Okay,
signed.
okay. All right. Understood. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
Mr. Mayor, let's clarify one thing. You were referring to a Supreme Court. I think you meant to say the Attorney General opinion.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's been circulated, and I just want to clarify that it's not a. it's
And
not
is
a
left to the
opinion.
municipalities.
That's the Supreme
Yeah,
Court.
no, but it's an opinion of.
Oh,
It's
it's an Attorney General opinion. Thank you for that
Just as-
clarification.
But clarify, it is left to the municipalities.
Yes. It's just not there's not a requirement.
It's not in the Constitution.
Okay, so where are we?
I make a motion
What are your
that we
thoughts?
approve the rules in which we have written, and that's what we abide by. That's the motion I make.
I'd second that motion.
Before we move on to that, I err kind of on Leroy's side as well, that you gotta, when we've discussed this, you would need to, or should give some kind of notice, wouldn't you think?
Yes, I agree. I think we've done that this meeting. And so if we say this is going to be the policy going forward, then we have given notice that from this point forward, we're going to follow this. What concerned me at the last meeting is people arrived at the meeting and we, without any advance notice, after they arrived, we told them no. We've had these rules this meeting. If we're saying going forward, I think everybody's had advance notice.
Okay, so this could be in place effective the next meeting. And the changes from our, what we traditionally have done is that we have added the fact that owners of businesses within Guthrie city limits can also participate in this public comment, and that the public comments will be made only to agenda items. And if an individual wants to have an item placed on the agenda, it would be discussion with councilman or city manager.
Well, so, we also know it's not a charter issue either, this whole deal here. I mean, I've been through it.
Doesn't
fine.
matter.
No, I know, I'm just saying, it's not a charter issue. Some are saying that it is, James. Okay, that's why I'm making the comment. Okay, it's not
Well,
a
we
charter issue.
I believe that James made the motion to follow
Yeah,
those. I was just
second.
pointing out the changes. And was there a second?
Yes,
Yes.
Jim Case seconded.
So
Jim.
we're going to use the policies that are on tonight's agenda.
Yes.
in
On
form of-
the agenda and what are on the sign-up
I
sheet?
just want to make sure, so when we get ready to do the next agenda, I know what to put on it.
Yep.
And it is displayed out here now too as well.
It's on the
I mean, there's a
form
deal.
that they sign. I believe it's on the display that's
Yes.
in front of the sheet.
Okay.
And that change will also be made in the citizen guideline
Yes.
handout that's also there, that we also have. It's on our website, I believe.
I don't know if it's on the website, but
Well, I
if you
know
want it to be, it can
we
be.
do have a citizen guideline
Okay,
handout.
yes.
Yes, we'll make those changes. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Submit your votes.
All votes ran?
See the votes. By a vote of 5 to 1, we are adopting for public comment and public announcements, the guidelines that are listed in the agenda today and on the handouts in front of the city council. Okay. There we go. It's way back there. Okay. Item number 12, city manager report.
I don't have one tonight, but I will be updating my list of projects and status reports in the next few days, and I'll distribute that to everyone.
Okay, great. Look forward to that. Item number 13, comments from members of city council. Councilman Williams.
No comment.
Councilman Bothroyd.
Nothing.
Councilman Taylor.
Hey, Dan, thank you for keeping the talk under 5 minutes. Appreciate staying on that. I'm sorry, I just had to razz him about it. That's it.
Vice Mayor Case.
Adam, thanks for coming and talking with us tonight. You were on topic. That's all I've got. It's just as a joke, I'm sorry.
Again, guys, not accusatory, I was just saying it's how
Under-
it looked, is all I was saying.
Right.
Understand.
Okay.
Councilman Long.
Actually, several business owners downtown, and it's been brought up so many times, and I think that maybe it's something that we could put in a workshop or talk about, because I do think there are things that we can do from the city's perspective, as well as enforce some current rules and guidelines that we have, and that's parking downtown. We unfortunately have people who live in apartments that let their cars sit out there days and weeks on end. We have other business owners who will park in front of their neighboring business owners all damn day and don't care. And I just think that maybe if we can do something from a perspective of making sure, we've talked several things about maybe having the street sweeper go through at certain time or certain days of the week so that all that street has to be cleared so that you can clean the street a heck of a lot better at 3 a.m. or whatever time if there's no cars on that block. And unfortunately, so many times you go down, it doesn't matter what time, there are cars parked downtown, and they need to get off the street and go in parking lots if they're gonna be parked for prolonged periods of time. I personally have had to call on vehicles that have been parked for 2 weeks in front of my office that's just sitting there, and have to get it tagged and finally get it towed. And even after it was tagged, it still sat there for some time, but we gotta get these people stop doing that sort of thing. So I think there's things that we can do, that we just need to get together and figure out what's allotted and make it happen. But I'd like to see something.
Okay. Possibly a workshop to talk about
Yes.
different alternatives. Okay.
I would
All right.
suggest May.
May, sure, I'll be gone. As will you.
All right, good points. Not a problem that's isolated to Guthrie, America either.
No, but it's unfortunately, it's just people being insensitive to their neighbors.
Yeah.
And it's,
And
we gotta
and
figure
Mr.
something out.
Long's suggestion about requiring on one side of the street 1 week, one side the next week, being clear for street sweeping, accomplishes part of what he wants to do, but also makes it easier for Tiny's crew to sweep the streets, and you don't see this pattern down the street. So we've looked at that, and we concur that's something that should be explored and adopted an ordinance to do that.
Okay, all right.
Reach out to your councilman, James, and put it on the agenda, brother.
I'm ready for it.
Well, maybe a workshop on it would be good too.
Now you're blocking me, Mayor.
Okay. I don't want to do that. Okay, we do have some opportunities for more direct involvement, engagement with your city government. And we have a number of vacancies or expected vacancies, potential vacancies coming up. And I'd just like to make mention that I believe that we've got a number of terms that are expiring on the Planning Commission coming up in the next couple months. A couple terms on the Historic Preservation Commission, a couple openings that are already open on the Park Board. So 3 dynamic commissions or boards that impact directly our community in very significant ways: planning, historic preservation, and park board. So if anybody out there or in the viewing audience here has an interest in engaging more directly, having more involvement, we'd love to have your involvement. It's important, and these 3, they're all important, but these 3 are specifically pretty significant in the operation of our community. So planning, historic preservation, and park board. We have vacancies right now or in the near future. So get on, go to the City of Guthrie website. The application is available there, or it can be picked up upstairs at the city manager's office, and be involved. We want to hear from you. Anybody else last? Nope. Okay, all right. Item number 14, consider approval to convene into executive session for purposes of discussing employment, hiring, promotion, discussion of city manager candidates.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Submit your votes.
All votes, Fran?
See the votes, unanimous approval to go into executive session. And we'll see you all, folks,
In a minute.
a little bit later.
So did Steve, I think. Somebody else. Somebody else was telling me about getting it.
All right, Steve, we're gonna close this?
Yep.
We waiting on people to get here. We got quorum, don't we? It's close.
Wait for,
We can close with that, James. We don't need James.
got two of them out there.
We still have quorum, don't we? Yeah. We've got 4 councilmen here. We may have a fight with OG&E. What? We may have to fight with OG&E. Huh?
Kick their ass.
You're gonna be the one fighting. I'll be
We're,
behind you 100%.
We may be live.
Oh, sorry.
And they'll pick up their infrastructure and go home.
Yeah, that's the downside.
Well, I gotta get going, so.
Brian, can you see what's holding up the two? Or Jim?
Let's go home. We can talk about stuff after the meeting. I wanna hear that hammer rat. So moved.
Was Jim staying behind?
Second.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to return out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? Submit your votes.
Wait, just a second. Just a second.
Submit your votes.
I'll vote Trent.
Unanimous approval then to move out of executive session. Item number 16, action on city manager candidates. No action taken at this time. That being last item on our agenda. We're adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Have a good evening.